Hello and welcome to the Crystal Vision podcast, where we dive deep into the strategies and energetics of business, money, and mindset mastery so as to create the next generation of wildly wealthy women. My name is Olivia Clare and I'm a serial entrepreneur who is obsessed with giving you all of the tools that you need to create your crystal clear vision of success. Each week, you will hone in on your unique zone of genius and embody the highest version of yourself to reverse engineer your way to your dream life. If you're ready to let go of the hustle and effortlessly call in more money, more growth, and more fulfillment, stay tuned. Hello, and welcome back to the Crystal Vision podcast. Boy, do I have a guest for you today. I will let him tell his story in his own words, but let's just start with classical musician, paratrooper, and special ops in Afghanistan, all the way to entrepreneurship. Here is operations expert, Adam Liette. Hello, and welcome back to the Crystal Vision podcast. We have a very special guest today. I'm so excited to introduce you to Adam Liette. Now, please tell me, did I say that correctly?
You did. Nailed it. First time.
Excellent. So happy. Okay. How are you, Adam? I'm so excited to have you on.
I'm doing fantastic, Olivia. Thank you so much for having me. Here we are. We're recording this right at the beginning of the year. We still are keeping our New Year's resolutions, and it's exciting to be jumping into the year like this. So thank you for having me.
Yes. Oh, no worries at all. Yeah, I feel like we're on the podcast train. I've done I think 2 or 3 podcast episodes this week. You're on 8, I think. So we're going to get through it together. We're coming into 2023 super strong. I love to hear it, but I don't care about any of that. I'm so interested to talk to you and hear all about your story. My amazing podcast manager came to me and said, we need to have this guest on. I was like, okay, who's Adam? Oh my goodness, let's get right into it. So you are an expert in operations, of course, and you have a business and a podcast called Smooth Operator where you talk about all of this stuff. But I do not want to start there. I'm sure, as you can imagine, I really want to start in where I think your story begins, which is you're a paratrooper in Afghanistan. So take us through the journey. How'd you get from there to here? I want to hear all about it.
Absolutely. It kind of happened by accident. I'm actually a classical musician by trade. I was playing classical trumpet, and that was my initial degree, was trumpet and music education. And after I graduated, I joined the Army and found myself in the Paratrooper Corps, and I loved it. It was fantastic. I started my military career as a trumpet player for the military, and did that for a couple of years, and then this wonderful thing happens in the military where they recruit for our special operations units from within the military. You don't just come into the Army as special ops, you're recruited from within. And so they approached me and recruited me, and I went through the whole training process, which is, I could do a whole podcast episode just about the training because it's pretty intense. It's a year long. But I landed on a special operations team and ended up doing that for almost 8 years, 6 combat deployments, all sorts of shenanigans, all sorts of fun. And then where this all led to me in this line of work in operations was, as you said, I was a paratrooper. So I jumped out of planes. I was on a normal jump. It was a Tuesday like any other day. Actually, it was a Thursday in 2016. I jumped out of a plane. Everything was going fine. I thought it was a perfect jump, and I hit the ground and I felt something pop.
Oh.
I felt it snap. And like an idiot, I walked off the drop zone because we have high pain tolerances in that line of work, only to collapse when I got to the end and found out I had broken my ankle in 3 places. So that led to a couple different surgeries and me on my back laying and recovering for 2 months. Well, people like us don't sit still for very long. We're not really designed to do that. So what did I do? I started reading, and I discovered this guy named Russell Brunson and read his .com Secrets book 3 times back to back. And I went down this rabbit hole of online businesses, marketing, and I was in there. This whole new world was opened up to me, and I had a year left in the Army, so I jumped in. I'm going to start my own agency right now, and I went on Upwork and I found a job as a junior social media marketer for a music education company. Hey, full circle, I'm back to music. That turned into a full-time job as an operations manager, and the rest is history. It led me down the rabbit hole of operations and running teams, and now I'm helping other entrepreneurs do the same.
I love it. I love talking to someone. I don't know. I'm so obsessed with one thing. It feels like I'm trying to be more multidimensional. I'm like, hang on, maybe I need to have some hobbies. So to talk to you and to see that you have such a broad range of interests and skills and expertise, and the way that you can sort of bring that together, and how it's like all played a part in your journey, it's so interesting to hear. And I'm so fascinated by the whole thing all of together. So I guess let's talk a little bit about that move from working as a director of operations in that classical musical company to having your own business. And I love that. I feel like everyone's story starts out the same. We just kind of like wake up and realize it's like Alice in Wonderland. You go down the rabbit hole and you think, oh my goodness, there's this whole other world that we had no idea about. So what sort of made you decide to, rather than work in marketing and gain those skills and work for or with someone else, to having your own online business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say I've always had the impression and the ideation, the romanticization, if you will, of the entrepreneur. You know, you hear it's like it's romantic stuff for nerds, but I never knew who I didn't.
I relate.
Yeah, I didn't really know who I was. So when I was thinking of becoming an entrepreneur and I was trying to imagine myself as this marketing expert or something, it just didn't feel right. Like I felt like I was faking it till I made it. You know, all those bad cliches. It never felt like I was being my authentic self. When I became an operator, when I became that director of operations, I was in that seat and I was running that company. I felt for the first time as though I had arrived home, as though I finally found my voice. I found what gives me fulfillment, what gives me happiness, what gives me purpose. And once you find that, I had this never ending desire to serve and to take the lessons that I had learned, oftentimes the hard way, running a company that was scaling as quickly as we scaled. And I saw an opportunity to help entrepreneurs avoid those pitfalls, avoid those pains by putting operation systems into place. And I saw an opportunity. We were going down to Funnel Hacking Live to get a big award from the ClickFunnels community.
Wow.
And I was like, if there's ever a time, the time is now. And I have a wonderful, beautiful, supportive wife who's an entrepreneur herself, and her business has been crushing it. And she told me the same thing. I said, if there's ever a time for you to do this, the time is now. So take the leap and believe in yourself.
That's beautiful. Take the leap. I love that. Give me some numbers. I saw some numbers. I did my due diligence. I was stalking you. Tell me what that classical musical company that you started with ended up scaling to by the time you decided to step away.
Yeah, I was the fourth hire on the team. By the time I stepped away, we had 8 full-time hires and another 8 contractors working for us. In terms of revenue, we went from $400,000 a year and increased by 600%. So they're over $200 million a year run rate at this time.
What?
And it was only within a couple of years. And it was a lot of organic growth, a lot of paid ads, but it was to see the team grow and to be able to support that, tremendous. I think just in terms of the membership, we went from like 2,000 members to almost 35,000 members in the website.
Wow. That is incredible. And I mean, it's important to note, like a $400,000 business with 4 team members and 2,000 members, the operations for that looks completely different than a $200 million business, 16 staff members and 35,000 people. So the fact that you were able to help just there. I like my brain just shut down even just thinking about doing that. That's amazing. So I have a really interesting question, and I think we can sort of tie in a couple different things here. What is something about your time in classical music that taught you a specific skill or like helped you in your online business?
I think what has helped me the most is the skill of practicing and improving through practice.
Mm.
Classical musicians, we take a piece and we will play it 30 ways from Sunday before we ever let anyone else hear us. I've approached my seat as director of operations in the same respect, where every interaction I have with the team, every strategic planning thing that we do, every time I have to bring good news, bad news, hard news, whatever I need to communicate to the team, I never do it without practicing.
Mm.
I make sure that when I'm on camera, when I'm in my role as the leader, it's rehearsed, it's refined, it is delivered with the exact intention, tone, and tempo to have the impact that I'm looking for. And you notice I just changed my own tempo of my voice to really let that sink in. Because everything about the way that we communicate, it's not just the words that we're using, right? It's the tone, it's the speed that we're delivering it. It's even these little inflections that we do. All of this is part of our broader
There it was.
communication. Yeah, exactly. It's a part of our broader way of communicating. And at the end of the day, that's the biggest tool you have, is how well of a communicator you are. That's what helps scale the team. That's what helps inspire followers and puts you in that leadership position where you have people who are just crawling over rocks to follow you because you're inspiring them and you're casting the vision.
Amazing. That was exactly what I needed to hear. And it all sunk in because I'm like, okay, now I need, my brain goes straight into the doing mode. I'm like, all right, I need a vocal coach. I need a leadership coach. But just thinking about that, right? Every time before you sit down and have an interaction with someone, how can I come in and be really intentional and think about the way that, not just what I'm saying, but the way that I'm saying it. So that was so juicy. I'm going to use that in like a little reel or a TikTok.
You don't need a vocal coach, you need a phone.
Yep.
These phones have this wonderful app in it called Voice Record. Just record yourself and listen back to it. That's the most painful part, is listening back, but it's the most valuable part because you're going to hear it and go, oh, I really didn't like the way I said that. And you're going to be able to refine your own process just by recording yourself.
I love that. Oh, that was amazing. Okay. What is something about your time in the army that helped you or taught you something in online business?
The army is a difficult life. It's very strenuous, and especially in special ops. So the difference between special ops and the rest of the army, you have to be a tough guy in all of it, right? So when you go for that selection through that training, they're not assessing your toughness anymore, your physical toughness, because it's kind of assumed. They're testing your mental toughness and how much you can really take mentally. So as an example, any soldier can put on a 80-pound rucksack and walk for 12 miles. It's kind of what we do. But what the extra twist they did in special ops was you had to walk the distance, but they took away your watch. They took away your ability to communicate with anyone. They took away your headphones if you like to listen to stuff while you work out. And then they did something called a unknown distance, unknown time exercise, where you didn't know how far you were going and you didn't know how long you had to get to the end point. So you just had to go your hardest the whole way. That tested your mental agility and your mental toughness. That mental toughness has paid off dividends running the company and being able to manage multiple projects at the same time, all the stress that comes into it. Not saying to develop mental toughness, you must go join the army. It's how I develop mental toughness. But there's numerous ways you can do it. I think that's the number one thing I carry with me to this day, is just the ability to withstand a whole lot of mental stress and just keep on going.
That's really important. That ties into my next question. I don't know, just thinking about the best way to phrase this, but I think when you think of the army, and even from what you just said, right, you have this image of discipline and, like you said, this mental toughness. And I guess my question is, there's so many different types of people in online business and all at different stages. My question would be, what level of discipline do you believe is required in order to have a business that operates smoothly?
So I will say, with much love and respect to the military leadership only works in the military. The idea that you can just order someone to do something and they do it because they were ordered to, that doesn't work everywhere else. So that was a different lesson to learn. That being said, the type of work I did, I worked a lot in U.S. embassies. I worked a lot with foreign nationals. Like I'd work with the army from Thailand, for example. I partnered with them for a while. You learn a certain degree of empathy. You learn how to communicate, how to set expectations, and how to hold people to them. I have found working with that music company was a fully remote company. If you set the expectation and you hold yourself to it and you give people a little bit of leeway when needed, people do come through for you. If you're inspiring people and you are showing up with servant leadership and empathy and care for the person, I've never really had too many problems with people not doing what I asked them to do. It was a matter of me including them in the process. I think that's kind of the key from something that I have not developed from the army, but have developed with coaching and with running the business, is include people in the process, make them part of the solution. And it's amazing what happens when you meet with someone. Like, let's say you have a project coming up and you really need this team member to do X, Y, and Z. If they're a part of that planning and they have a piece in it, they actually have agency in it.
Yeah.
An agency in completing the project. So having that agency, that usually takes care of about every other problem you can ever imagine when people do have agency in it. So I guess to sum it all up, what have I learned from the army? I've learned a whole lot of what not to do, and I've learned that you're better suited by just being a servant and having empathy and listening and showing care for people. It's going to take you much further than just learning how to give orders.
Yeah, wow. Does trust play a part in that? I'm just curious, like from what you said, actually giving people, not only involving them in the process, but giving them a chance to make the choice that they're going to be a part of the project or the work that they're doing. Is that trust?
It is. Well, it's trust with a safety net, how I like to think of it.
Oh, I really like that.
To give someone agency over something and say, you're responsible for this, go. Well, your average person is going to say, especially if they're a little lower, a newer hire, or they've only been on the team for a little bit, what is the number one thing that they're going to be hesitant on and what's going to actually cause them to make more mistakes? It's being afraid of making those mistakes. It's being afraid of making the decision because they feel like they've been put out on an island and they have no support.
Yeah.
But if you give them that safety net to say, I'm here if you have questions. I'm here to check over your work. Hey, before you post that, let me just take a look at it just to make sure we got everything that we need done. And we're all on the same page. It seems condescending to say, let me just take a look at it. But what is that actually telling the person that you're delegating something to? It's telling them, I got you, brother.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let you fail. And when you make a mistake on something, I'm going to help you fix it. And I'm not going to help you fix it with a stern, why did you do this wrong? I'm going to do it with a, hey, I just made these corrections just to tighten things up. You want to take a look at it real quick? And that person's, every time I've done that, has said, Dude, that was so much better. I really appreciate your time helping me complete my task.
Yeah.
And it's so quick to do, but man, once you get into the rhythm of it and you rinse, wash, and repeat, you're actually training your people to be better along the way, and it just pays dividends in the long run.
Mm. And as well, like as their manager in a sense, or as the director of operations, when you are taking the time to do that for your people, they will learn, oh, I really liked being managed that way. I really liked how they treated me. And then they continue to incorporate that culture and embody that culture and do that when they eventually rise through the ranks, or even if they get a different job, they'll always remember that, and it will play part into the way that they interact with other people in the business and in life moving forward. And so it's just this beautiful ripple effect that I think happens when you take a second to have that trust, like have that kindness, not let the stress overwhelm you, which is, part of mental toughness. Because if you have a deadline, you might think, oh my goodness, why can't you just get it right? But taking time to really slow down and to support them in that way, I think is really beautiful. Now, I've got a question for anyone who's a bit more flowy in business, because I find that this holds a lot of people back, thinking, oh, operations, oh, that's so scary. I just want to like wake up and do what I enjoy. Why do I need operations? Why do I need to do systems and processes? So if someone's got those thoughts around operations, what would your advice to them be?
Well, if you want to be that way, you can remain a solopreneur and be perfectly happy. But the fact is, most people don't operate that way. And even people that think they are flowy and going by the seat of their pants and doing whatever they want to do, they're actually operating from their own system. They just might not realize it. Um, we are creatures of habit.
Mm,
It's in our genetics. It's been human. I mean, since the cavemen, we've been creatures of habit, creatures of schedule. When you incorporate schedule and um, routine into your business life, you're actually going to actually end up freeing yourself more than you think. So running a team does not have to be an imposition, does not have to be a full-time job. Matter of fact, if it is a full-time job for you, just managing your team, give me a call. I'll help you get out of that, because managing your team should be only about 20 to 25% of what you do as a CEO, a visionary leader in your company. When you put systems in place, it enables you to run your company and to inspire and manage and motivate your team on far less than you can imagine. I've helped entrepreneurs train their teams and manage their teams in as little as 15 minutes to 2 hours per day, depending on the day of the week. It was as little as 15 minutes per day that they had to spend actually in the I'm the boss role, because we created everything else for them so they could be in that visionary role. So it will be some temporary, I'm uncomfortable with this. Got it. Love you. That's why you need to get you a good operator or integrator by your side to manage some of that. But man, if you want to impact your or grow your impact, and I know all of you do, that's why we became creative visionaries, is because we have a message for the world and we want to change and improve people's lives. You want to improve more people's lives? This is the way to do it. And yep, it's the ends are worth the minor pains along the way, for sure.
yeah, I second that. I think sometimes a little bit of uncomfortable thinking, like you said, or making a hire like an operator or an integrator to help take the burden and carry it with you, can mean that you just have way more of your time back, which you can spend doing the flowy things that you enjoy and being the visionary in your business. You're not so caught up in, the day-to-day tasks, because there's operations and there's systems for that, and it's being managed and just all nice and flowing and nice and smooth, which is how I like my operations to be.
Yeah, the end result is always more time for focus time. Always. It's
Yeah.
more time for that visionary to do that work and still have the company running. It's not the other way around. You get more time, more of your time back.
Yeah. That's so true. if someone's listening to this and they're having a moment like I did about 30 seconds ago and is thinking, oh shit, I really need to go and get my systems and my operations sorted. There's a few that are just lagging behind or bottlenecking in my business. What would be your 3 best or greatest tips for starting to get or getting your systems more organized and flowing better?
For sure. That's a good question. The first step I tell everybody is stop overcomplicating things.
Yes.
When we think about systems and SOPs, it can be really easy to go down the rabbit hole and what's the right tool to use? And oh, I now have to learn Process Street or something. No, make it easy on yourself. Every SOP I've ever created has started with me and ScreenFlow. Literally just documenting what I do and how I do it. And it might live as just a video for 6 months, and I'm going to be okay with that. If you do nothing more than just and take 1 week and everything you do, record it and put it into different videos that are properly labeled, you are already ahead of 90% of the people that I meet. So just having it in a video that you can then make a process from. But do not start with the process software. Just start with the video. Make it easy on yourself.
Mm.
The second thing I would say is you need to get really granular with your time. You need to do a time study. A time study, the way I do time studies, I'm not going to lie and say it's a fun process. It's not. The time studies that I use are brutal. It's literally a piece of paper. It's a spreadsheet that you print out and you track every 15 minutes of your day, all day, 24/7 for 2 weeks. But then I have a calculator that I've created, a dashboard. You plug in all your numbers at the end, and what you're going to see at the end is where your time is all going. You're going to see how much time you're spending working on certain projects, working on certain things that you weren't aware of how much you were actually putting into that. And whew, is that a motivator to get moving on offloading, delegating, figuring things out? Because you're going to see how much of your own time you can buy back. I'm not gonna lie, it's painful to do, but I'll be honest, I still do it every single quarter at a minimum. I do a time study, and when I'm feeling the most resistance, the most pain in my business, I immediately start another time study because I'm gonna find out what's causing me pain really, really quickly through that time study. And the third and final thing, it's related to that time study. It's about what exactly do we mean by delegation and offloading and buying your time back? So often when we think about that task, we think about, I mean, if you ask someone, hey, you need to delegate some things, what are they going to automatically go to? They're going to go for those low level tasks, kind of I need someone to do this. This is easy to do. This is easy to do. And thing is, like, that really doesn't actually motivate us to do it. It's like, oh, I hate doing it already. I'm gonna hate offloading it too because now I got to do this work and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And you're only buying a little part of your time back. The most revolutionary thing I was ever told, and it was by my coach. He told me, Adam, you need to find out what you're best at and what's occupying the most of your time, and you need to offload that. What actually fulfills your creative side? And for me, it was all the email automation. I'm an Infusionsoft junkie. I love Infusionsoft, and I can do everything in that software, which, it's called Confusionsoft for a reason. It's tough. But I was spending 15 to 20 hours a week doing it, and I offloaded it in 60 days.
Wow.
And when I did that, not only did I buy back a lot of my time, I freed up my creative space. And we're creative people. We have to fill that void. It's not an option for us. We're going to fill that creative void. That space created an additional $500,000 in revenue for the company just by me having 15 to 20 hours a week to go into other projects that I wanted to do. I just didn't have the time to do them. So if you need more money in your business, who doesn't? Figure out a way to offload that big task, not just the little ones.
I love that. This is such great advice. And I think everyone can start to do that in a very granular way. Like, even if you just look at your to-do list and think, how many of these things could I give to someone else? And you'll find yourself going, oh, I can't, I've got to do that myself. And I've got to do that one myself. And this one I have to do by myself as well. And rather than accepting that as your answer, questioning that and saying, why can't I hand this off? Is it because I think I'm going to do it better? Is it because I don't want to deal with handing it off? And I think when you start to question that, you start to think a little bit more outside of the box and realize, wait, I can actually hand this off. And what do I get back if I hand this off and have this extra time and space? And like you said, usually it's more money. It's like, wait, I have some time to actually go out and get clients or create a project that's going to give me more money back, or you get to just enjoy yourself and enjoy your life, which pays more than money ever could as well. So I love that advice. And the second thing you said, what was the second piece? Because that was really important as well. Oh, the time, like time tracking.
Time study.
Yeah, that is great advice. I did that for half a day once, and that was enough for me. But I feel motivated to do 2 weeks of it because it's so true. It really will highlight where are you leaking time. And I can just imagine how much time I would get back if I did that properly, because I definitely spend too much thinking about doing things rather than doing it. So I encourage everyone to give that a go. That's really, really great advice. I want to talk about you.
I've one thing to add to that.
Yes, please.
And the other thing that it's about that thing that causes us hesitation about delegating. Everything you said is absolutely true. And what I've found is there's one additional area that causes that hesitation, and it's caused it for me too. So everything I'm telling you, I'm fully guilty of, just to be purely transparent. A lot of times the reason we're afraid to delegate is because there's a feeling of loss. Of losing that part of our identity that's doing that role. Even if we say we hate it, like, it's part of your identity. And making identity shifts is hard. Here's what I would challenge you to shift your identity here. You are not delegating it purely. What you're doing is switching your role in that project. You are going from the tactical implementer of it into a supervisory strategic role in it. You still have a piece in it after you delegate it. You're now just doing it from a supervisor and strategic level. You're not losing it. You're just leveling up your game.
I love that. Yes, we all need to level up our game in 2023. It's only the first week of January. I'm wondering how much longer I can use that. It's 2023, so we've got to do it. Excuse. So what are you currently passionate about, whether it is in life or in business?
Ooh, I would say my number one passion, I'm very lucky in life. I have 4 amazing children that are at that age where they're both my boys are teenagers. My girls are 11 and 8. We have a full life.
Oh, wow.
So what motivates me and everything, it's to give my children an inspired life as well. And it's amazing what that will do to you. It makes me work harder. It makes me work actually longer hours, because I realize my children are watching everything I'm doing, and like they're making that mental model of what adulthood looks like right now. And so that motivates a whole lot of things.
I love it.
Yeah, the kids they're just a central part of it. And the other thing I'm super passionate about is I do carpentry. I build furniture. So I have a wood shop right over here in my back office. My office is in the backyard of our property. I have this wood shop that I'll go into. And I tell you, there's no better stress relief when you're having a rough day than going and hand sanding a piece of wood for about a half an hour. You come back with a pretty clear vision of what's next.
Yeah.
So those are my 2 big passions.
I love that. It's so nice. I think anyone who is in the online space doing online business, I highly recommend, like, that's a great tip in and of itself, is just having a hobby that is physical, because we can get so caught up in our brains and in sitting in front of a computer that just taking a walk, or I've been trying to, like, playing a bit with knitting and painting, and that connection with something physical and creating something is so important for us. So I love that. Woodwork is fun.
The new one I've recently discovered is I got into hunting.
Oh, okay.
We have deer out where I live, and I took a weekend 2 weeks ago. I went out into the woods for 2 days, and I just sat in a tree stand watching for deer, completely alone and in complete silence. I didn't speak or hear anyone speak for 2 days.
Wow.
Oh, it was amazing, the clarity that I came out of those woods with after spending that time completely alone by myself.
Yeah, wow. That's so cool. I don't know if I could do that. I struggle with meditating and not chatting, but I think that's why I have a podcast. I'm like, oh, that's so nice. And you know what? It's so common for us to have that time. Say you have a walk, a 30-minute walk, and you think, oh, now's a good time to listen to some personal development, or now's a good time to finish that podcast episode, or I want to listen to music, or let me do an audiobook because that's really good for me. And just having that quiet sometimes will give you more than anything else. Just so much clarity, creating that space. Like you said, we're creative people. So something will get filled up in there usually, which is where some new things can be born. My last question is, what is your crystal vision for the future? So what is your big picture vision, big picture plan? What is it that you're working towards, so that in a few years' time we can listen back and say, wow, he achieved it all?
Mm. Well, that's a big one.
Yeah.
I am so obsessed with what I've been able to see entrepreneurs do when they install operating systems like this. I can't turn it off now, and I see it everywhere. I can see org charts. I mean, I dream in org charts. I dream in templates. I dream in project management. It's crazy. And the reason I think I'm obsessed with it, and the reason I have this drive, is because the world's kind of a mess right now, if anyone noticed. You know, everything's kind of all over the place. The answers are not going to come from, certainly not politicians, and it's not going to come just from the big companies. It's going to come from where it always comes from: entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are you can go back millennia. Entrepreneurs have been the biggest driver of worldwide social and economic change and development that the world has ever known. That is not going to change. It's only going to become even more important with things fissuring, with us losing trust and faith in the institutions that have largely governed the last 50 to 100 years. It's going to be us that change the world. So I want to see passionate, driven entrepreneurs continue to have their impact, and to continue to grow their impact, and have that supporting system underneath them that allows them to do it. And by the way, we all moved remote. We're not going back to not being remote. Remote is now a thing.
Yeah.
And it's not going back. So that would be my, The World is Flat was written 40 years ago by Thomas Friedman, and it's finally coming true to its full extent. And it's going to be amazing what happens, and what we're able to see come through these next couple of years. Because disruption is only starting, and 2023 is just going to be more disruption. So when disruption happens, how are you going to react to it, and what opportunities are you going to see to take advantage? Take advantage has such a negative connotation. To fill the gap where there is no solution yet. You need to create it.
And find that, like, yes, take advantage, I agree with you, sometimes can have a negative connotation, but what it really is seeing the opportunity in the change of circumstance and choosing to see opportunity where other people only see destruction. And that is so powerful. And it's a common trait of entrepreneurs that I really, really admire and appreciate. So I love that vision. I love, I think we create jobs and growth and passion. And I think we're going to just see more and more people really, like you said, staying at home and choosing to step into their passion and not just go and slave away their life for someone else. So I only see more and more of this. And I like your crystal vision. I'd love to see that come true just for all of us as well. So thank you for sharing that. Is there anything that I didn't ask you or anything else that you want to get off your chest or tell the listeners?
For sure. It's been such a pleasure. I love geeking out on this stuff, and to be connected with so many integrators in your own world. It's such a pleasure. And I would say to all the integrators, to all the seconds commands out there, if I can offer my biggest piece of advice is that your people, your team are part of your family now. And when you give, when you lead with love and care and empathy, you're going to have those times. You got to be that hard-nosed leader. And that's just part of it. Sometimes you got to be tough. But when you lead with love, it makes those tough parts easier. It's how you get people to follow you, stay with you long term. None of us want turnover. The hiring process is a pain in the you know what. We don't want to do that over and over again. But the people you're hiring, they just want the care. They just want respect too. So when you lead with that, you will be repaid in dividends, and you will actually have such a much fuller life because of it. I know I'm speaking to the choir here, but just know that when you're frustrated, find your own mini group of integrators or like-minded people. Let off some steam or go for a walk. It's going to happen, but just know you're doing the right thing and keep doing it because you're part of this change of the world. So keep on.
Wow, that was amazing, Adam. Thank you so, so much for joining us today. Tell us, where can people find you? Where can they get their systems and their operations working more smoothly and just be inspired by you, be in your aura?
Thank you for that. Couple places. The best place is my Facebook group. So it's simply called Smooth Operations. You can Google that, or not Google that. Search for that in Facebook. Join the group. The podcast is called the Smooth Operator Podcast. It's available on all the major platforms. And my website is adamliette.com. That's ADAMLIETT.
Perfect. And all of that will be in the show notes as well, so you can just swipe up and get access to it right away. I'm going to go look up the Facebook group and join my fellow operations people. Thank you again for being on the show. It was such a pleasure to meet you and hear your story, and I hope that we can connect, maybe meet in person one day. Your property sounds really interesting. I'm a property gal myself, so we can maybe meet up. Who knows?